So in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can take a thin, not so full, not so rich, not so thick, not so saucy vocal like this.
Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems.
And thicken that thing up, make it a little bit more full, saucing it up to make your vocals sound like this.
Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas more strong. Shit, he's a.
So if you haven't tuned into this channel yet, I am Jordan, aka MixedByJE. So what I've done in this video is I've actually compiled my top 3 tips on how you can achieve that exact same sound that I attached in the beginning of the video with very simple tweaks to your workflow. Let's go ahead and dive into the meat of the content. That's enough to see in my face for this video. Let's dive into it. So let's go ahead and play this rough mix just one more time so we kind of have a reference point as to where we started and where we're going to end up.
Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas more strong. Shit, he's a.
So as you can tell, it's night and day difference. The first one, it just kind of getting lost in the sauce.
But you can also get lost in the sauce.
The vocals are not standing out. It just definitely don't do a lot for you compared to the mix, to where you kind of feel that tone. You can feel the vocals, the energy's there, the width is there. The vocals are definitely a little bit more in your face. And that is exactly what I'm going to break down in 3 steps here within this video.
Lovely.
One of the first things that kind of hindered me as I was trying to get the fullness out of my vocals was appropriately using the high pass filter. So let's go up here to my high pass filter and see what I'm doing here. I'm going to solo and show you exactly what it's cutting out. I'm cutting right at 85 hertz. This is definitely going to be key if you're not using a high pass filter, which I'm assuming most people are. This is one of the things that I do on 100% of my vocals. Throw this thing on there. It just kind of gets rid of the room tone and some of the frequencies that's going to just obliterate your mix. Now, what I'm going to actually talk about today, one of the things that I did very early on is I was using this to the extreme. I would crank this thing up to, sometimes I would have it all the way up to, 150, 160. And let's play it and see what actually happens here.
Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems.
So you're losing a lot of your life within that vocal. So what I'm going to say here is be very careful whenever you're using this high pass filter. I have found that my sweet spot is typically around 60 hertz all the way up to about 90. Anything less than 60, a lot of times I'm still going to kind of have that low end rumble, that low end kind of the room tone that I don't really want. And anything more, I have noticed that my vocals kind of start to thin out just a little bit. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into point number 2. Consider multiband compression. And the reason why I've been doing multiband compression more than EQ is because it helps your vocals stay dynamic. With an EQ, whenever you cut it and whenever you set it, it's gone, which is good for in some cases. But if you want your vocals to kind of stay dynamic, if your vocalist kind of changes their tone or changes their energy, what's cool about the multiband compression, it's only going to be compressing that certain frequency whenever it hits the threshold of where you set your multiband compressor. So let's actually play it and see what we got without the multiband compression.
Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. Shit, he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems.
So I can tell that it's definitely doing some compression in the lower range of the vocals, and not only that, some of the harsher frequencies as well, which is typically what I'm using the C6 for. So as you can see, especially whenever he goes lower with the head on part.
Face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas more strong. Shit, he's a face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas more strong.
You can tell that the multiband compressor is not really working at that point, which is great. It's going to keep your vocals dynamic like we talked about a little bit earlier, and you just can't really achieve that whenever you're EQing that frequency. So let's go ahead and dive into point number 3, which is parallel compression. So if you're brand new into the game, you don't know what parallel compression is, quick overview of what it is. It's your lead vocal 2 times, one being heavily compressed, that's just subtly blended up underneath your lead vocal. So before we dive into it, I want to be real fast to show you the difference between parallel compression engaged and it not engaged.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on.
Let's go ahead and give you a rundown on what I have going on here. I have a send here from my lead vocal track to my parallel compression is going to be the blue-faced Wave CLA 76. This is another tool that I use on just about 100% of my tracks to achieve the tone that I'm going for. And then I have the Waves L1 limiter, just kind of catching some of the peaks that are popping out. It's really not doing much at all.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart.
So as you can see, it's not really doing much at all. So what's the purpose of parallel compression? What we went over so far, we've went over the high pass filter. You know, we got the low shelf, we got the multiband compression, and we've got, you know, a little bit more EQ down here within our vocal chain. Sometimes whenever you're making these cuts, your vocals may lose a little bit of life in some of these frequencies. You know, if you went just a little bit too much, you know, compressing this part, compressing, you know, cutting too much here, cutting too much there. What this parallel compression is going to do is going to give you an extra signal of vocal tone, of thickness, of fullness. And what we're going to do is we're just going to barely blend it in there. I think I've got it a -7 dB or -6.8 dB parallel compression. So let's A-B it one more time. Let's see what it sounds like without the parallel compression.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas smoke strong. Said he's a.
You're definitely going to hear that vocal just got a little more solidified, a little more upfront and in your face, a little bit more full with that parallel compression. And I'm going to give you a little secret tip. I know people's been knocking the CLA vocals. I was that guy too. Until this joker pulls up CLA vocals and throws on the spank setting for a little bit of extra parallel compression, let's just mute this spank setting, which is the secret sauce. If the spank setting is too much compression, you know, sometimes I'll go down to push. I'm going to play it. I'm going to let you make the call on if CLA vocals is trash or if it's you're going to give it a shot.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas smoke strong. Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting.
Hey, I'll give you this. You did get a little bit more gain whenever I threw it in, so it did get a little bit louder. I'll give you that. But if you listen to it, the vocals just got some protein in them with CLA vocals.
Yeah, buddy. It's on now.
Use what works for you. I'm going to keep using my CLA vocals. So let's go ahead and A-B what everything sounds like without the parallel compression, without the multiband compressor, and without the high-pass filter that we made. And let's see what we actually did to these vocals here.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas smoke strong.
Now with it.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas smoke strong.
We cleaned up the vocals, but we didn't clean it up so much that we lost the beef. We didn't lose the tone. We didn't lose the fullness. We still got the sauce attached, right? And we're still keeping it clean. But just a quick bonus section, right? Just a couple plugins that I like to use to help me achieve this tone. I do really like the RVOCS compressor, which is a Waves compressor. I mean, it looks like I'm hitting maybe about 5 dB of compression there. A very, very subtle use. It kind of pulls the vocal up front just a little bit. This is one of my favorite compressors that kind of gives me a certain characteristic, a certain tone that I do like to use on certain tracks. Definitely worth mentioning the RVOCS compressor. And one of your stock Pro Tools plugins is going to be the Lo-Fi. This does not apply to every track. If your vocals are already super compressed, you may not want to do this. But if you have a decently recorded vocal, the secret sauce here, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll pull down the sample size to 15. What the distortion's giving me is a little bit of, I would say it's probably around 2 to 5K. It's just kind of a subtle lift in your vocals to kind of push your vocals forward a little bit. And pulling this down, this sample size down to 15, it helps your vocals just sit a certain way. It kind of gives my vocals a texture that I do like. So let's go ahead and play it without it real fast.
Said he's a pill popper, block rocker, heart stopper, head trauma, fighting demons, more problems. I'ma face this shit right here, head on. Only reason why I gas smoke strong.
So as you can tell, it's subtle, but it just does kind of give your vocals a little lift, a little boost in some frequencies, and it kind of helps your vocals move forward within the mix just a little bit. With those 3 tips and the last 2 bonus tips of the lo-fi and the RVOCs, hopefully you can add these tips to your workflow. Hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Feel free to go over to MixedByJE.com to check out free Pro Tools templates. I've also got the stock sauce mix template for any of my guys who's out there just getting their feet wet within Pro Tools. Feel free to drop a comment of what you would like to see next, because I never want to upload irrelevant content. I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the content that you want and that you need to propel your career as an audio engineer. But until next time, I am getting out of here. Peace.